Crucible of the Vampire begins several hundred years ago with this guy in the woods who is looking for his cat. He has a cauldron. He's working up what he says is his lunch. These group of folk grab him, proclaim that he has been doing witchcraft and murder him, pretty much. Then we jump several hundred years to the current day, where we have Isabel, who is a trainee curator for a museum, who has information about the second half of this cauldron that they already have in the museum. The other half has been found at this stately home, and her boss wants her to go out there, examine it, see if it is legit, and work out a deal to get it back to the museum. She travels, this is one of her first jobs outside of the museum, to this stately home where, as you could possibly imagine, everybody's just a little bit weird and a little bit strange, and there's not too many people about. From there on, she discovers that the cauldron is real, but things aren't going as smoothly as they first thought they were going to be. You get the master of the household, you get his wife, you get his strange acting daughter, and you get the greenskeeper played by Neil Morrissey, who's in the movie a little bit, but not a lot. And the movie kind of plays out as you would imagine, with some horrific aspects happening, some ghostly images which are pretty fun, and a story that I really don't want to go into too much in detail in case you're actually going to check it out. For me, Crucible of the Vampire feels a little bit like we have this location, we have these kind of actors, we have a little bit of money, that what can we come together? It's a story that is somewhat fitting, but is nothing more than, say, basic entertainment. It's not something that you're going to revisit much. There is some nice performances, there is some good solid moments of scares, particularly with a ghost in a house that down long narrow passageways where it is darkly lit and all they have is a torch or a candle, which they reason out, fair enough. That is rather spooky in moments. You get the strange acting family members, which sometimes is pretty good, and sometimes is just a red flashing light for the character going, warning, this character's mental, stay well clear from them. And we do get somewhat backstory as to some of other characters and some of the crazy things that have happened in this estate and household, and it's shot fairly well and it's pretty fun. But there are moments that bring it down. There is moments of overacting that don't quite suit the subtlety of some of the earlier performances. You have moments where they go maniacally scene chewing maniacs, where it could have been done without pulling it back a little bit. You know, it gets rather strange and abstract at the end with the inclusion of suddenly of a cult that's never really mentioned or alluded to at any point in the movie, which seems strange when you see who's involved in it, because it is key people of the small town. She does visit certain places outside of the town at points. We get Neil Morrissey as the gardener, who seems to have been there for 7 years but has never really seen anything about it. There is a young boy that appears at part of the movie that seems to have some kind of information, but again, he's dispatched fairly quickly and we don't really see too much of him. And what is played out as partial ghost story, partial vampire story, partial cult story, it feels a little bit too much with not enough focus on some of the sort of crazier elements. The performances are fine. The look of the movie's pretty decent. They've got a nice big stately home to film in that looks pretty decent and kind of imposing and has that old feel about it. You know, the kind of narrow corridors, the big windows and large ceilings in the rooms. It's just all kind of odd and fitting. But it's a story that kind of lacking in the substance department. You know, what it does have in a little bit of atmosphere, it loses in some of the over-the-top performances. Some of the storylines just, or this main storyline just doesn't entirely come together for my liking. But it's not a failure. It's just not an overall success either. Crucible of the Vampire is interesting, but it's not something that you should rush out to check out. I'd love to know your thoughts on the movie. Let me know in the comment box below, and I'll see you next time on Man vs Film.